Welcome to the People's Guild.
Each week we explore the Splinterland universe with guests from all across the mythical land of Praetoria.
Join us on our journey as we discuss the evolution of the game, the strategy, the lore, and the exciting path that lies ahead.
To support the People's Guild, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts, and also check us out on PeakD, YouTube, and Twitter.
Send your questions, suggestions, and epic battles in our comments through Twitter or email at thepeoplesguildspl@gmail.com. We'll feature the best in our episodes and maybe airdrop you some prizes.
Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the People's Guild. Another week, another episode, another wonderful guest. Today we bring to you a conversation with a guy who I think the whole community kind of looked to as a positive and consistent source of solid, good energy on our town halls. And now it's kind of turned to a place where we occasionally reach out for proof of life that this guy is still alive and active and working with the team. And I think his presence on this episode is that proof of life. So he is a developer by, I guess, self-assignment. Officially, he is a head of product solutions designer. We've got Hardpoint. Welcome to the show, Hardpoint. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Thank you guys very much. Glad to be here. And proof of life, I'm actually here. It's the real Hardpoint. It's the first time I've actually been on air since last year, honestly. I don't think I've been on a town hall since, honestly. A lot of that's self-inflicted because I asked to shift my role to reduce my stress. I mean, the stress level I was under towards the end of last year was pretty crazy. And, a lot of people don't realize this. I've said this in, Mavs chat, but I'm actually an introvert and no one really believes me, but I'm actually a real introvert. So getting out in front of people is actually hard for me. And, but I can fake it like the best of them. So this is a little bit more natural for me to be a little bit more behind the curtains.
Oh, you're doing a great job faking it so far, man. We had talked for a few minutes before we got started here. You're telling us you weren't used to be calling Hardpoint. I know you've had a lot of traditional software development and more traditional companies experience in your background. And we're talking a little bit about some video games in the 90s. We're talking about Wing Commander. What are some of the other favorite games from the 90s? And is that why you got into software development, or what led you down that path?
Good question. So I kind of grew up, at my age, I kind of grew up with a personal computer. So my dad had money, so he could own one, when they first came. He loved gadgets. He didn't always use them, but he always bought them. So that gave me an opportunity very young to fiddle with stuff in the 80s and 90s when I grew up. And so I grew up with the computer, grew up playing video games. I was playing, old Atari stuff, playing original Nintendo, playing PC games, Apple 2GS. I mean, some of this stuff, everybody's like, what? They have that in a museum now. I grew up with it, played a lot of games in the 90s. The part of things that always has drawn me to games is the ability to use your creativity and jump into something completely unlike your real world, get lost in it, make some bad decisions, and have a lot of fun making decisions you'd never make in real life. And this has been great. 90s has really etched. Speaking of that, no plug, but Diablo is one of the games from the 90s I played, and just Diablo 4 just came out. I've been sucked into that, just beat it. My fiance and I stayed up till 4:30 in the morning so we could beat it, and it was awesome. So I really love seeing that one come back out. I know everybody has a bunch of different opinions about it, but I'm a big fan of the game. So that was a lot of fun. And 90s, I played 1, 2, 3. I played the hundreds of hours of 3. So yeah, I love the fantasy genre. I think that's one thing that drew me into Splinterlands. I didn't come to Splinterlands because of the game. I came to Splinterlands because it was an opportunity to work on a game. And then it's kind of I love the game that's there. So it's been a lot of fun seeing the genre. I love the fantasy genre. It's always been something close to my heart. I love, I will self-admit that I've been, out to Ren fairs and dressed up and do all that fun stuff.
That's awesome. Did you, coming from more traditional companies, did you have any reservations about joining a blockchain Web3 company? What was that thought process like?
Yes, but honestly, where I am in my career, I feel pretty confident I get a job. So I didn't, it was more, it was like a leap that didn't seem like a leap.
Mhm.
Because, if I would land on my feet somewhere, I've never really had a trouble with that. Um, but it definitely, like blockchain and gaming, it sounded like, wow, I wanted to, I invested in cryptocurrency in the 2008 era is when I finally joined, and got loans on my cars and did a bunch of bad financial decisions and got deep in it and wrote it all the way up and wrote it all the way down. Um, but I really love it. It's a cool idea. I'm not sure. Like I said, basically, I'll make my disclaimer right here, to everybody. This is not financial advice. Don't take any advice from me. My financial advice usually ends up putting money in a big pile and burning it. So please don't take my advice on that. And so, but anyway, so yeah, cryptocurrency is a super exciting, interesting era. I think there's something to it. I'm not sure about it yet. Still trying to get my read on exactly how it's evolving. It's like something came on, everybody was like, maybe it's this, and it's turning into something completely different. I feel like it's sort of like when you look back and you see pictures of what people thought 2000 would look like at the turn of the last century. Everybody's thinking flying cars, Jetsons. And then you get here and there's no flying cars. You got Teslas that are running people over and catching on fire. But we sort of have self-driving cars, sort of. I feel like cryptocurrency is the same thing. I think as we evolve, it's going to turn into something totally we did not expect it to be. And that's where I think crypto is going. So that's my own opinion. It's interesting. I'm going to say something everybody in the crypto community really hates is that I actually think it's one of the strongest things for government to use because, and this, but it's because they can analyze and they can track you at such a level of detail that they can't do right now, that literally like your financial history is recorded permanently and they can go back and audit you at any point in time, every single transaction you've ever done. And now I feel like, public ledgers are now becoming sort of the opposite and what people wanted them to be, anonymous. They're becoming the permanent ledger of your financial interactions because now they have the computing power to analyze the blockchain and they can see your entrance into the blockchain. And then once they've got that, they can see every wallet you touch. So I don't know. Is that where it goes? I don't know, but it's sure there's a lot of money says that's probably true. So I don't know.
That's
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Hep.
I was going to say, I was listening to a podcast a while back and someone was talking about how you know, everybody talks about Bitcoin and things like that being, oh, it's, anonymous and people are shady using it. But yeah, they're saying, no, in war zones, what, would happen is first thing that shows up into conflict zones is like pallets of US dollars, right? And because you can't track them, there's this currency that's pretty well backed and can be used anywhere. But now if there's money in cryptocurrency going to conflict zones, like it can all be traced, and you're starting to see some people come out, trying to figure out different solutions for how to make crypto more private. It's almost like it is too private because of what you were saying. So that's really interesting.
Absolutely.
So it's really interesting, Hardpoint, that it's all about perspective, right? You say I finally embraced crypto in 2008. Well, I guess I finally embraced crypto in 2020, 2021. So
a little bit 2018. Just to be clear, I want to be 10 years early. I was later. I definitely came in way after the initial.
Got you. I heard 2008. I heard 2008. Yeah. So I thought
no. I'm late to the game. There's a lot of people here way before me.
Well, all of that said, and again, back to my kind of opening statement there is it's really all about perspective and hearing kind of your entrance into crypto and working with things like Splinterlands and the advent of government crypto kind of being a major conversational point. We're still really early to the game, right? Like if you look at overall adoption across the globe, it's less than 10%, if I'm not mistaken. One of you guys, I'm sure, can fact check me on that. But do you see kind of Splinterlands being that was a big part of my introduction to cryptocurrency was Splinterlands and the High blockchain. Do you see Splinterlands kind of at the forefront of being an introduction for a lot of folks that previously have kind of operated outside of the blockchain? Is Is gaming the future?
I mean,
I guess.
I feel like there's two ways to answer that. One is you just answered it for yourself, right? You said this was your entrance into it. So there's a lot of other people in the community. I think it's theirs too. They found a game that they liked, and then all of a sudden they're like, how do I get money into this? And then all of a sudden you realize there's like 20,000 steps to make that happen. So I think that's true. Is it everybody's entrance into cryptocurrency? I don't think that's true. But I think we have a pretty easy on ramp, or at least it's been easier. And I know as the world has changed, it's changed the way we've interacted with how crypto you get into Splinterlands and what you can and can't do. But I think it is one way, and I think gaming is a big way that cryptocurrency is useful. Because I tell you, it's way more fun to own your assets than it is not, because it gives you ability to put more money in and then pull it out when you want. And it's, I mean, without it being a direct gambling type of thing, it allows you to do something that's not gambling, but that's more of a long-term play with your money. You're like, hey, I like this game, or I like that game, or any game that, I'm interested in putting money in. You're like, I can put money in. I've been putting money into games for, like I said, 20 something years. Not very many games can I actually turn around and I'm done with them, sell some of that stuff, get some of that money back, go to a different game. That allows me to move my money around between games within reason. Doesn't mean I get a dollar for dollar. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I think that's what's really cool about it. Personally, like it's, I think it's cool that I can come and play Splinterlands, and if at the end of it I stop playing it, I can put my stuff, my assets in auto and earn money with it, or I can sell out and go to somewhere else, or I can sell from a different game and come here. And we've had a lot of people in the community come from other crypto games and sell off their assets and come into Splinterlands. And I think that's what's exciting about the technology, is being able to do that. Is you don't get locked into like the Blizzard ecosystem with your wallet, because you can move around. You can say, oh, that's a cool game, this is a cool game. So I think, to me, that's what's exciting about it, is the ability as a gamer. I'm being less lofty with this, so I'm just talking. I'm a gamer. I'm here to play games. I'm here to, because there's a lot of things I like about Splinterlands. I own a lot of the assets. You guys know that. I've put a lot of money into Splinterlands, lost a lot of money. But I've also I still enjoy holding assets. So I have licensed nodes, I have land and all this stuff. And it's not just because I'm somebody that works here. It's somebody that it's fun. It's fun to me to have these things. And I'm really excited about the project I'm working on, which is right now I'm working on land. To me, this is exciting. I'm excited to build it so I can use it. So it's fun when it works both directions. It's not very often as a software developer where you build a product that you're actually excited about using yourself. So I think this is for me, that's where it transitions from being just work to being something fun that I'm doing, is when I can actually use it myself, and I have my plots and I'm excited to see them used, and some fun, exciting things that I don't know if I can talk about, but maybe we could talk a little bit about that hasn't been talked about. I don't know.
Bring it on, Hardpoint. Drop it.
Well, I know it's been sort of dropped. Did they talk about land surfing at all? I know it was hinted at in the roadmap. Did that get talked about a little bit in the town hall? I haven't been to town halls because I'm been offline working. So I've a new lifestyle. I put my head in the sand and I just build code now. So it's a different life for me, where I'm not up to date with everything that's going off there. So I like night and day. You guys would not believe. It's where I was November to where I am now. So different. But I love it. I love doing what I'm doing right now. So I feel it's exciting. And I think there's some really great people in leadership that are doing things great. And it's great for me not to be doing those things.
I feel like land surfing did come up, or it was mentioned. Was it mentioned in a town hall, or did somebody else mention it at some point? I'm not sure if they got into specifics of what it was, though. So, I mean, if there's any other information you want to give us, we'd be happy to hear.
I give you some thoughts, and this will be fun. I need to go on a town hall, and I know we're going to talk about it, but I'm gonna let them worry about that. I know it's not that big of a deal, because I'm gonna say my big disclaimer: everything can change. That's the disclaimer with all Splinterland software, right? Everything can get delayed. That's the other disclaimer with Splinterland software. So
feel free to talk in hypotheticals here.
Hypothetically, right? Wouldn't it be cool if you could get, this is something that wasn't my original idea. This is an idea that came from Lilyfire, one of the support personnel. But I saw it and I was like, I love that. I want to take it and I want to change it. But I think there's a value here. Now, one of the biggest things that's been in the back of my head is how do we make land more fun for everybody? Right? Like because I mean, the problem is with land is it's kind of locked to the landowners, which was like 2 or 3 years ago. And there's like, think about all the people that are here now that don't have land. They weren't there when they could buy it for $20 or $10 a plot, right? They're paying hundreds of dollars. I know my most expensive plot, I think I paid $750 for one plot last year, 2 years ago when I first joined. So it was like, it's prices have changed, but shelled out a lot of money for a couple of plots. And I thought I was doing good. Now I'm like crying because I'm like, oh, I could have picked up 3 plots for that right now. Man, this sucks.
Did you turn it over? Was it at least like occupied or something? Magical, legendary,
I
or just
know.
common woods or something?
Exactly. Well, I was it's a whole nother story. We'll get into it, I'm sure. But so my thought was when I saw the idea about this land surfing, it started out like land squatting. The idea like squatters, having squatters on your property. Like if you're not doing something with it, somebody can come in and do something with it. And I was like, this is pretty good. And then I worked on it over a weekend and I was like, it probably won't officially be known by this when we actually launch it. Who knows what it'll actually be known by? But internally we're like, well, squatting sounds kind of dirty. There's negative connotations with it. And I was like, well, it's like couch surfing. And I was like, oh, I like that. So it's like land surfing, couch surfing. I was like, there's not a negative with couch surfing. People just kind of going around, I'm going to hang out here for a bit, hang out over there. So that's actually like kind of where the name so it's kind of hinting at what we were going for. I have a spec written up that is mostly me and Matt are kind of 80% on the details. Basically, the idea was, and the reason it came up is when I was building, I've been working on the core staking mechanics. So one thing that I just finished last week is I got all the code for the block op for staking. Workers, titles, totems, Rooney, and power cores. So I got them all. So I just finished some of that code on the back end side to get all that in. But while I was doing it, I was like, well, if we're gonna allow crowd surf, this land surfing concept, I need to know if that's a green light because I'm going to write the code slightly different if we are. And so we had this whole discussion, and we're like, yes, it sounds like something really cool. I'm not sure yet because we haven't really announced it to sort of see the fervor of how Discord will go over this. But the idea is that you could actually stake cards on someone else's land. And so the idea is that what if this is the whole what if scenario? What if we created a thing where all land was available to anybody with cards? And how do we do that? And so the concept was we still have to let landowners be supreme, right? So landowners still have the right to kick anyone off their land. And all they have to do is stake anything. You stake anything on your land, no one can surf it. Okay. But there's a lot of people that don't have enough cards or are not actively playing that there's a lot of land out there. So we're thinking, well, what if somebody has a ton of cards and they want to do something with them? What could they do? So you could stake your cards and you could land surf someone else's plot if there's nothing staked. And then I was like, okay, well, that's cool. But okay, how do we solve the problem of, well, what if I'm surfing and you want to surf where I'm surfing? So this is the fun part. So really basic concept is it's going to be kind of a war style surfing. Like if you want to kick me off, you just put up more production than me. So you get that war, like whoever has that biggest deck wins. So you want more, you put down more and you can kick me off land. So basically that's sort of what we're kind of going with land surfing is you can stake your cards. You're going to need all the same things. So this is the cool thing for the Splinterlands economy. You need to stake DEC. You need to have grain. You need to have a power core. You need to have workers. You need to clear the land. You need to do all the same things an owner would have to do, but you don't have to own it. You can just do it. Now, if the owner, now here's the cool thing for owners. Like owners are like, well, what do you know? Like I bought all this money. Why can't this be private and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. That's great. Well, guess what? If you want to lock your land, go buy a 1 cent card, put it on your land. No one can do anything with it. Great. You just paid a penny for permanent. No one can surf your land. But here's the benefit. If you don't have the cards and you want to make more, maybe you don't have really good cards. Someone else surfs, you get 50% of the production of whatever they do on your land. So it's kind of like a rental system. So you can come in, someone could stake card. You can actually ask people, hey, somebody come surf my land. I want you to. I don't have the cards for it. You guys do it. You get the cut. You get 50% cut. So the surfers only get 50%, which is really interesting because then it sort of creates this dynamic. You don't have to own it, but owners get 50%. And if owners want to use it, they can get twice as much production than a surfer can. So it's kind of exciting because what we're really offering the opportunity to do is, let's say these are imaginary numbers, but these are hypotheticals based on kind of my sense, and this is all gut. My sense is maybe we get 30% of land kind of functioning. I think with surfing, we can take that number and push it up to 40 to 50% of land. Now, and I don't know, like these are all made up numbers, but I think you can double or triple the amount of active usage of land in Splinterlands by opening it up to everybody instead of just being landowners. And as long as we let landowners have the ability to kick someone, like if you want to kick me off, you just put one card down, you can kick all my stuff off. And we give a way to create this new kind of fun little game where people can, hey, I like that land better than you. I have more cards. I'm going to go after it. It's kind of fun. It adds some gameplay in here. So it's actually like another little subtle mode of like, how do I get my cards staked in the best land I can find and producing what I need and all this kind of stuff. Because remember, they're all the same penalties apply for staking. So like if you stake something and you unstake or someone kicks you, your cards are going to go through the same penalty of time that if you unstaked, which is 3 days. So that means if you get kicked, your cards get locked up for 3 days waiting for the unstaking process to finish. So this prevents people from just like taking their cards and slamming a whole bunch of stuff. Like that creates that like delay. And all this stuff is subjective. Like we're going to tune it. We're going to have fiddle with it. I was trying to see if I could get it out with the first version of the 1.5 or phase 1.5. It's not one version 1.5, it's phase 1.5. I think it's going to come right after it. But it's such a big deal. I think all of us internally think it's such a big deal to open land up to people without that ability to own, but with cards, it just creates so much a good vibe in an economy because all of a sudden you need everybody includes, they need DEC staked to get it, right? So like that means more DEC has to be pulled and used. You need cards. You're locking cards up into land. More land is utilized, creates more gameplay out of land. There's so many things that this opens up by doing this, and you're giving this huge benefit to owners where owners can kick people. They get half of the production. Like there's so many benefits. And if you want it twice as much production, just become an owner, just buy your own plots. So it's like, there's a lot. So actually the landowner, so if you think about land, right, we got like a 3-tier system with land. We've got your castle and your keep owners, right? Your castle and your tracks. So you got those people that are earning taxes from everybody producing. And now we have another level underneath that, which is your land owner, your plot owner. Your plot owner now can earn just like castle and keep owners, right? So now you have another owner that's actually getting other residual earnings from people surfing their plots. So it can be really exciting. Everybody I've talked to seems really excited about it, seeing it implemented internally. Like a lot of us that own land are excited about being able to especially people that have a lot of land. They don't have enough cards for it. They bought up a lot of land a long time ago. They're really excited about having people surf their land and getting some utilization out of it. And I think the game wins because then we show ourselves to be way more active than we would be if we just kept it to be super exclusive club. And I think the owners win long-term because the value of property is still maintained higher. So anyway, that's kind of like the thought that we haven't really set out there and talked about, but if you guys have questions, I'll try answering some of them.
Brilliant, man.
It's all still in TBD, but that's the concept.
We love TBD land, Hardpoint. Man, this is brilliant stuff, and just the potential of jumping land utilization from I think I've heard forecasts from 10 to 30% somewhere in there seems to be the general consensus ballpark for what kind of utilization we'll see at the advent of land 1.5, and if we're able to achieve that 50% utilization, that's just massive implications for the card market and for getting as many players involved as possible. I'm wondering, as you were speaking, I'm wondering from which third-party developer we're going to see, Praetoria Airbnb type rental system.
Makes
and that
sense, right?
yeah, it's brilliant, man. And I love that the game, kind of continues to develop these things and leave, somewhat open-ended interpretation stuff for these third-party developers to come in and build support platforms for that sort of stuff. And I can definitely see, maybe if as a landowner, I've got the DEC for 80% of my plots. That last 20%, maybe I could negotiate for, hey, I'll give squatters or surfers a 60% cut to come surf on my land, sort of thing. So that sort of negotiation, and I think there's definitely some interesting implications for kind of harboring and hosting a community of surfers to have the secret of Praetoria spike in terms of overall production. And yeah, very, very cool stuff, man. I hope Hepthorn, I'm sure you've got some thoughts also, but real quickly, I want to take a step forward. And we've heard Aggie say we're quote unquote a couple of sprints from 1.5. Is that kind of your take on general timelines that you guys are seeing internally, Hardpoint?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like, it's always tough. I always feel like the right way to say estimates is that they're good for the moment you say them, and then they're completely inaccurate the moment after. So like, anything I say right now, the moment after I say it, it's probably wrong, is the way I don't like promising things, because software is so weird and there's so many competing priorities that constantly come in and like, oh, we need to do that. And that displaces something else for business reasons. So right now, though, like, on the team and what we're looking at with LAN 1.5, yeah, like it's a couple. I know publicly, I think we're still targeting that August 1st. It's not going to be far off. That is my target. Like, I'm kind of been tracking it internally. It's close, but it's, we're never perfect. We're not going to be 2 years behind, and unless we got changed direction completely internally. But like, with the team that's on deck right now and working on it, we're going to be close. It's not going to be massively off of it. And when I say massively, I mean years. I mean, we're talking like weeks. I think we're in that time range. Like, August feels right to me. Like, I would love to hit the August 1st. I would love to hit that. We'll see. But I mean, there's a lot of things going on, and the problem is, a lot of this stuff, we're building it and we discover things along the way that add more scope, that are kind of like, we kind of feel like we have to do it. So it's like, like we get into it and something happens and you're like, oh shit, like I need to like do this because of this other situation. I need to build a whole bunch more code I didn't realize. And that's the kind of stuff that always we say, oh, well, because myself and Farpatrod and Mancia 92, who's the three people on the team, all three of us have looked at everything that's been spec'd, and we have an idea of what we think it is today. And as we go through it, there's always this little stuff we find, which tends to push stuff out. But what we do is we got a team that's dedicated to it and working heads down on it. So it's really exciting about that. So right now we're cruising on it. I'm excited about it. I would love to see it come out by that time frame. Do I think it's going to be exactly right? No, it never is. But do I think it's going to be shortly after that? I hope so. That's my hope is right now. But I feel like as soon as I say that, like I said, guys, it's always wrong. As soon as I say that, next week, priorities will change and then we'll be doing something. I don't know. I just, that's what I feel. You're asking me the question. I'm saying, I sure hope so. I'd love to see it hit then. That's the best I can say. I'd love to see that early August timeframe be the drop date, but we'll see. It's close, which is cool. It's not like 2 years out. That's what I feel like is really important. The really exciting thing is like, I just saw Matt, I talked to Matt on Friday. It's funny. It was like, I used to talk to Matt every week. Now we only talk every couple of weeks or something, because we just like, okay, thanks, Matt. I got my question answered, and go off and build stuff for a while and then come back and ask some questions. But we were talking about it and kind of giving this longer range vision where, what is all of land, like all the pieces. And it's all the stuff that you guys know. It's nothing new. It's like, we need to get LAN 1.5 out where you can stake stuff. You need buildings. We need to get buildings going. Then we need to be able to mint items and spells. And then we need to be able to make items and spells go into the gameplay. And so we got to take this all the way through. So, but it was kind of cool where internally it's interesting because we're building the game in pieces, but we actually have the full vision. So we know where we're going with it. As like a lot of companies, sometimes they don't know where they want to go with it. Like we've told everybody this is what we want to do, and that's the course. Now the details is what will change, right? It's sort of like this land surfing idea. It's like that wasn't in the original spec, but it's going to be, I think, really huge for land. So it's important to like, hey, let's get that in here, because I think it could really open up the game to new players, smaller players, get a lot more people engaged, maybe some open subs and stuff. So I'm seeing that kind of stuff happen with land, where we're like, oh, like we just stop here and do this one thing. This could open up a whole bunch more stuff for us and the community. So we're trying to take advantage of those opportunities when we see them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hearing about the land surfing, I think it'll be great to just drive more engagement with people in the community, people who don't have land, or maybe people who don't, have one or two plots or want to be more involved in land. Is there going to be any sort of like adverse possession thing where if like someone's on it for long enough, then they like, all right, now you get to keep it, or now it kind of gets switched at all, or it's always going to be like, no, if you own it, that's always going to be yours.
So one of the things we discussed internally was, my original envision for it was you could stake one card and you could have like all these different people staking on the same piece of land, was one of the ideas I had. And Matt was like, that's really complicated. And we were talking about it. And then, yeah, it's really a lot of code to try to make that work. So we ended up with just one person is staking on any plot. So if you have anything staked, you're that plot. And the reason it comes down is who's managing it, who's managing the plot, who's choosing what the plot is doing at any given time. If you have all these people on it, it gets a little bit tricky to say who's the manager of the plot. But so we kind of narrowed that scope down to just like one manager, like on the plot. So that's kind of where we ended up with the scope on that. But what we're, the whole war style thing, I think there's a lot of opportunity in, kind of to your point about like what we do. Now, the one thing I think, and this is all subjective, we're in TBD land. Mm-hmm. I just don't think you want to do anything. People have paid for these plots of land, and we don't want to do anything that is like negative. That we're not going to take away your land. Like they're tokens, they're NFTs. That's where the trick is. Like you can't just take away. I mean, you could, but then it sort of introduces a whole bunch of other stuff that I'm not even sure how you do. How do you even represent like losing your NFTs? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff there. So I want to stay away from, personally, I want to stay away from that, because I think it just creates a lot of uncertainty and risk that then people all of a sudden have to factor in. And there's a lot of people that factor in risk when they make decisions with things that are of value, right? So I want to stay away from that. But everything inside the territory of not screwing with people's assets is fair game, right? It's a game. So like for me, that's where I think it becomes more interesting about who's staking, what's the rules on how you can kick someone off of it. I think that's fair game. Like you can kick people off, and if the only penalty is just time, then cost becomes the amount of production you lost by losing the cards to someone kicking you, right? So there's still intrinsic value lost. It's just not direct value lost, and that's more fun to play with.
Yeah. Can
we screw with your intrinsic value? Yes. Can we screw with your actual hard value? No, I don't want to do that. So that's where I kind of draw the line. But the war style thing, because at one point in time, we had it where it was going to be levels, like the level of cards. So like if I put up a higher level or a higher gold foil and all of this, I can beat yours, kind of like true war style, like king, queen, jack, ace. Like you put in a higher level 2 card and I have a level 1 card, you win. We shifted it. It's kind of similar, but it's indirect, is the production value of the cards, which means, interesting, right? Which means that the bonuses that are allocated to the cards matter when you're trying to kick someone else off. So if your card, and this is actually beneficial to the landowner themselves, because it's a natural selection for the best producing team wins the plot. And so that's important, because there's some cards that'll produce really well in certain regions and certain types of genres and all that, or other cards won't. It still biases to higher level cards, to gold foils, to alphas, and all the rest. But there is certain advantages to certain ones on certain places, and it's in the best interest of the plot owner to have the best cards there and the players. So that's where right now it's all about that. It's all about production value. Your production beats my production. You get the plot. I get kicked. Now, I have a feeling that this is going to open some very interesting possibilities of war going on between guilds and stuff. So I don't know. I was talking about this and I was like, well, what if a guild, says, okay, we're going to set aside all these cards and we're just going to go kick this other guild off of all their land as much as we can. And we're just going to keep our cards kicking people. We talked about it. We're like, well, I don't know. We'll see if it happens. If it happens, then we might have to do something about it. So this gets back to answer your question. We're going in saying, let's add something interesting where players have the ability to make strategic decisions. Let's see what they do with it. If it becomes this huge fest where everybody's fighting over land, maybe that becomes an evolution into where there is some kind of thing that we build off of, but it's because players are the one that's doing it, showing that it's fun to do, or it's interesting to do, or there's a reason to do it. I think that's where you can see into diving the depth of what that means to kick someone off land and making that more intricate. So it's really going to come back down to the community. If the community does it a lot, they say it's valuable. If it really adds value, we'll put more time and interest in it. If it's not, then we'll kind of keep moving. But I think there's a lot of options with this. And I love the fact that it's not just a straight rental. Because if it's a straight rental, the problem with that is this. That requires somebody to put it up for rent and manage it and all that. By having it be surfing, the only player that has to do it is the one that wants to do something. So players could be completely inactive in the game and their land could be utilized. So like, it's kind of interesting how it's the only part of the economy. If you think about this, like, right, if you walk away from this game right now, right, and your cards are all sitting in your deck, you're essentially staking them. For all intents and purposes, they're staked or burnt, whichever way you want to think about it, because no one's going to take them out of your account. No one's going to use them. No one's going to try to selling them. So you're not going to get any more value. You're not using them to gain rewards. So they're completely locked down. So essentially what we're doing is we're taking land that's locked in this state and we're putting it back up for public usage. The owner can still get value, but they don't have to be engaged with the game. It could be like people sitting on it. Now, here's the cool thing. Version 1, at least my thought is going to be for surveyed land. Our plan is to make this available for all unsurveyed land. So what this means is we can go to 100% usage of the entire Praetoria, even if there's players that never claim their tracks, their regions, and all this stuff. So so one theory on this, and this is what we definitely want to do it, because what we're trying to do is we have this finite amount of space, Praetoria, right? 150,000 plots. We want to make them all available. We want to make it thriving and doing things. But then how do we retain the value and the concepts of the original inception of the idea? Well, what we can do is all the unsurveyed stuff. It's like that, Nate would come up with some really cool narrative for it, but it's like, this land that's not cleared properly and you're kind of just foraging on the land and trying to do your best. Well, the cool thing about that is then we open up so much more plots for just anyone randomly to go grab it. We might just all make them be common level. It's all common. They're all the worst of the worst, but there's still ways to earn with them and do things. And I think that's what's exciting about this is we're trying to still retain the original value of all of surveying and getting these cool moments where you open up a land and it's a legendary land and you're super excited. All of that's still retained, but we were able to suddenly get utilization out of all this stuff out there that no one claims or they don't think. Like, if you're going to sit on your token, some players do that. Some players just buy packs and they sit on them. They'll never open them. This would be essentially the same as if you have packs sitting in your account, we allow players to somehow play on those packs. And that's essentially what we're saying here. That's, I think, is really cool. It just opens more of the game up. And this, to me, honestly, is the coolest way. People keep clamoring. They're like, hey, we need to get new players in here. We need more engagement. We need more ways for players. And I'm like, this is actually a way where you bring more people into the game and be less exclusive, but open up more of the game to all these players while still retaining that original value. This is the type of things we need to do to get more people in. So I don't know. It's just one of several, but it's a very cool one.
How would totems factor into? Can you bring a totem? Like if you're surfing, can you bring your totem in with you? Yeah.
Hell yeah. You can bring anything you want.
Okay.
So you can stake everything. You can build everything. Here's the other thing. When you kick someone, you're going to degrade whatever was happening is going to degrade. So it's not like, okay, so you could do land sniping, right? Where you wait for them to clear the plot. And then right before they clear the plot or right after they clear it, you snap that up, right? Well, we're going to introduce something where if you kick me off my plot, you lose some of the productivity of that, so that it's not just wait for your last moment. It's still, you're going to have to fight through to get to that thing completing. So if you're building a building, it's 95% there. Someone comes and snipes you, it's going to drop that production of that building because, there was a war, people fought, come up with a narrative, right? The thing got burned down slightly, someone tore it up, people knocking windows out so they could, do their
Collateral
thing.
damage, yeah.
Exactly. Collateral damage. So like the building would drop from 95 to like 75 or 50. And if you keep doing it, you'll knock that building all the way back down to where it's just might as well rebuild the whole thing, right? So that's the kind of ideas we're thinking about, making it so there's a tension. It's not just zero sum, like I'm going in and I'm just gonna win and kick people off plots. Like it's gonna cost something. And there's gonna be limits. So when you think about staking, the other thing is players aren't going to have unlimited abilities to stake block op wise per hour. Like we have to limit the system. That's something we've learned over the last 2 years, is that the system costs a lot to run. And so we have to do throttling on everything. So each individual plot is going to be throttled in the number of staking operations you can do per player. So for instance, you can only do so many staking operations on your plot. And this prevents someone from just, hammering away at us and causing the game to become unresponsive or burns a lot of, because, this is real transactions that we're doing on the blockchain. So we're trying to be thoughtful about that. You're going to see a lot of that, like throttling, a lot of like those use, just the same reasons why we have market fees now. We have the listing fee. It was one of the ideas that I helped get through this year. It was just introduce small ways that hopefully don't cause a lot of pain, but kind of slow some of these transactions down so we can get them down to be the cost effective and maintain the game in the long term.
You kind of looked into the crystal ball there of what I was thinking. Hardpoint with I had the question on the tip of my tongue about the unsurveyed stuff and how do we move towards a world where Praetoria is 100% utilized. I think that's maybe a bit of a pipe dream to think we can achieve maximum utilization there. But I'm kind of thinking, suppose I've got an unsurveyed plot. It's just kind of sitting in my account. Hepthorn comes in and squats on it. And it jumps to the default, very commonplace resource, commonplace production, that sort of thing. If I come back in and claim that, have you guys given consideration to, is that, is there going to be any, I guess, penalty for me having sat on an unsurveyed plot for an extended period of time with somebody squatting on it, or how does that play out?
Well, right now it'd be really simple. Like, because, that's the one thing I love about the way Matt designs products, really simple ideas, Occam's razor. So let's not make it too complicated, especially right out of the gate. I think the really simple idea we had was right now it would be in this kind of unsurveyed state, which would equal like a common, generic kind of thing, right? Where it's kind of, you're kind of in the junkyard. You don't really know what's really there. It hasn't really been fully surveyed. You don't know if there's gold or something in the hills. It's just, you kind of carved out a little area in this territory and you're doing it. When someone surveys, all of a sudden it becomes whatever it is. So that's kind of the thought. Now, we haven't spec'd this completely out. I'm just telling you, this is just, we're making it up right now here. Just, we're writing specs as we go. But I think the simplest case is you would unsurvey it. And if you happen to be on one that, like, let's say I go to redeem my token, right? Redeem my token, you're on it. It's going to show all of a sudden that you're staking there. And then it's going to turn into whatever we got. Let's say I get a legendary. You're on it, common, all of a sudden it's legendary. Well, what is that going to do? Well, that means that more people are going to want to get to it. So like if you were staking on it, you thought, oh, this is all good. I carved out this piece of this plot. I'm making some money. I'm doing some things and I've done all this stuff. Well, all of a sudden it's going to be worth way more. So all of a sudden people who are ignoring you and we're not trying to fight for that plot are going to come after it, right? So the moment it flips, then all of a sudden the owner might kick you just because, oh, well, I don't want them to be on my legendary land, right? It's like I can kick you, or they can, naturally someone's going to see that happen and then they're going to come in with a heavier deck and start producing more on that land. So I think that's the kind of stuff it's going to open up to, really. I think what's going to happen is the right answer to what you're saying is it's going to evolve as we do it. We're going to see what's going to happen. We're going to come up with a way to do it that's really simple, not complicated, that people understand. So there's no rug pulls like, okay, you happen to be on this land. Well, guess what? It's legendary now. All of a sudden the production goes through the roof. Okay, it's all up to you. So it's going to be up to the players to kind of decide how we go with it, and as we get feedback from people doing it, what's the interaction feel like? Then we can start making those more nitty-gritty tuning of like what happens if this happens and if this happens, because then you're just adding more and more complexity to the product. And we want to make sure, because it's software, we want to make sure whatever complexity we have has genuine meaning and value to the game and to the players. Like, because if we go and add just a bunch of complexity and at the end of the day, it's just like, it doesn't really add anything. I think that's where we waste time. And I really don't want to, that's why I love Matt's Occam's Razor's approach. I don't want to waste time. We've got a lot of stuff we got to do. We got land. We want to get to a certain place. Let's try to get there and let's open up doors. Let's try to open up big doors that give a lot of people access. And then let's see what they do with it. And if we need to come back and tune some things, let's do that. But then we'll have a reason. This is what I like. We'll have a business reason from both the community and from the company to go in and spend resources on it and say, this is a real problem. We need to go fix this. Okay, let's go fix that. And I like that approach because we don't get into trying to over solve a problem that may or may not exist, if you will.
Wow. Yeah, I'm so much more excited for land talking about this now. When I wasn't too hyped for it, I know it's very good for the game, very good for the economy, but what is really the gameplay aspect of it, where it's just DeFi mining, getting grain to feed the people who are mining, and that's basically it. But this has just added a completely whole other dimension where now it sounds like fun.
I hope so. I think you're right, though. I think you're definitely right. Until we get the full implementation of land 1.0, which 1.0 is items and spells being created on land and used in battles, you really haven't got there. Even this is just adding more and opening more up. But I think it really got to get to 1.0 implementation to really get the full effect of land, where you're like, I'm creating this, this sword. And this sword means a lot in battles and ranks and tournaments, and someone needs that sword. And all of a sudden you're able to bring that full circle of the economy in. And that's where really, really gets exciting. But to get there, and this is you said this early in the thing, we're really early with Bitcoin and the whole cryptocurrency. We're really early with land. Like, right. Like we're building it and you guys are like, yeah, 1.5 is gonna be amazing. But imagine what it's like in a year when we've had a couple more releases under our belt and we've added a bunch more onto land. It'll feel like, wow, we didn't really have anything a year ago. I mean, it's kind of like land was a year ago. We didn't have anything but tokens. And now everybody has a map and we can claim some stuff and we're starting to have conversations. Just look forward 6 months, 12 months. You'll see what happens. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of progress, assuming priorities stay the same. I think there's going to be a lot of progress in the next year on land. I mean, I'm having a lot of fun working on it. So as long as it stays fun and I'm still working there, I'm excited about it.
The iterative journey of land has been such a kind of fun project to watch from a distance. And now that we're as the community, we're able to start, I guess, at least getting our eyes on where we're going to be sinking our teeth into in the not too distant future. And we had Cryptomancer on, I want to say it was pre-Splinterfest, probably September or so, and he was talking about the potential for boss fights, and I think he had correct me if I'm wrong, Hardpoint, but I think boss fights were creatable by backers on Kickstarter. Is that right? And I think Cryptomancer had some.
Yeah, it's like I haven't read the actual text, but yeah, there was a bunch of people that paid to be able to be a part of the creation process of bosses. In the kicks, I actually saw the Kickstarter just last week. I didn't read all the text, but yeah, that was one of the cool things that they offered back then was the whole boss monster fight thing.
Yeah, Cryptomancer was talking about that, and since you kind of got into the Kickstarter thing a little bit further, one of the other things they offered was the fully printed encyclopedia, and shout out to my buddy Hep. He just acquired one on eBay, I guess a couple of weeks ago, and dropped a pretty penny on that thing. Has it arrived, Hep?
Yeah, I got it. I should have showed it to you. I don't have it down here with me right now, but yeah, I haven't even opened it up or taken it out. I'm like, I just want to hold on to it, but I will go through it and look at it. We'll definitely talk about it some point.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Fun little tangent there. But back to the conversation with Cryptomancer. And we spoke with him on the heels of I think it was Chatter that kind of put together like the digital Discord escape room sort of thing. I think the prize was, maybe some free whitelist tokens for Rooney or something like that. And with Cryptomancer, we were talking about the idea of placing some sort of like escape room type puzzle strategy and marrying that idea with land. And the community has come up with so many cool ideas. And we've heard time and time again the company talk about placing a higher priority on becoming a part of a guild and the importance of guilds. And I'm just curious, like, we all know items and spells, but bigger picture, are you kind of envisioning, a full-fledged marriage between guilds and land and landowners? And are you able to speak on that to any degree?
Probably not as much as you would like, but I can say that I think it only makes sense long term that there is an overlap. I mean, guilds are supposed to be our social clan thing in Splinterlands, and it only makes sense that longer term there's some kind of overlap into land. Now, does that happen before Land 1.0 goes out? I don't know. I know Land 1.0 is very specific. So like us checking that box and saying we achieved Land 1.0, it's a very specific check boxes that we have to reach, right? So I would be kind of surprised if we did guild stuff integrated into land early, unless there was like kind of like this land surfing concept. If we think it would create a lot of engagement or put a lot of fun out there, like I think that would give us a reason to go after it. So I haven't heard that, but I'm not at the like I said beginning of the call, like I'm heads down and land. So like I'm not. There's a lot of guild stuff that Cryptomancer, we're such a small team. The other thing is, and everybody knows this, we're such a small team. There's not like a lot of time for everybody to know everything. Like you have a bunch of us working on one thing, you have a bunch of, a couple of us working on one thing, a couple of us working on another. One developer built this, one developer built that. Like I know there's just a lot of that going on right now where we're just getting projects out. And so like I don't hear all the details of like where we're going. And it is honestly, it's a lot of information. Like for any one person. I know Matt's the only one, like unless they are fully dedicated. I'm not fully dedicated into product. I'm building stuff. That's my core. We talked about that at the beginning. I'm a developer. So for me, I'm trying to sort of narrow my scope and just focus on what my projects are in front of me. And that's right now it's land. So everything land that I'm aware of, I don't see it not being inclusive of guilds, but I also don't see it being on the checklist to get land 1.0 out. And I'm a very like, get me to that. When I started here 2 years ago, and 3 months, I'll be 2 years. I want to get land out. That was like one of my personal pet things was I really wanted to see land get launched. I thought it was a really cool project. I love the concept, NFTs, land, all that. So for me, that's really, if I can stay on there and as long as I'm not pulled to something else, I would love to see land just get launched in the next year or two. So at least the smallest MVP land 1.0 we can get out there. I feel like I've achieved something. It would be nice to see that go live. So that'd be personal vendetta to get it done. So no, but I think guilds are important. There are social contexts. You can't ignore social context. We need to way players to be connected. We need players to poke each other, to play games. It's very natural. Even freemium games do it. Everybody's trying to get everybody because games aren't sticky without social. So we need social. We need that. It needs to be integrated. Yes, that's my personal opinion. That's not an official opinion. I personally think you need all the social you possibly can get out of the product. And right now, guilds is where it's at. So the more we can integrate guilds into everything, I think the more benefit the whole product and ecosystem we get. I think that's my opinion. So that's like, does everybody share that? Don't know. But I can definitely tell you that's my opinion as being a gamer for the last 25 years. I'd say like if you don't do that, we miss out. And I think what makes land surfing so interesting is it creates a huge amount of interaction between players. And I would love to throw a lot of gasoline on that and throw a lot of dynamite on that. And if I can create a lot of fun interaction between players through this process, I think that's where we win as a game. It's not about just how many tokens can we have and where the value is in that. Can you create a fun game that you want to be a part of? That's what's really cool to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So is it your plan to stick with even after 1.5 comes out, in the next month or so, you're you want to stick with land, or is that the team's plan that you're just going to stick with developing land for,
I would
as
like
long
to.
as you can? Yeah.
As long as I can. I would love to stay on land, but I mean, I'm a servant of Splinterlands. So if they decide that they need me to go somewhere else, I would definitely be willing to do it. If I can choose personally right now, I love Splinterlands. I love land. It's been my passion since I started. So I love just being there, working on it. So as long as it makes sense for the company to keep me there, I'd love to just stay there and keep cranking away at it. But, like I said, I'm a servant to Splinterlands. So they want me to do something else. I'm behind shifting, but I'm having a lot of fun working on this 1.5. Neil and Eduardo, so love those guys and just really having a blast.
So
Man,
as a gamer and a part and someone who's so involved with land, apart from being able to mint your own NFTs, spell cards, item cards, boss fights, guild stuff, do you have any ideas of where you'd love to be able to see land? Any sort of things that while you've been working on it, you thought it would be really cool if 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road we could do this with land? I want to hear, give me some of those ideas.
So as long as we insert all the disclaimers, this is all
yes,
just
this
us
is never gonna
throwing
let's say
shit
this let's just say
against
this
the
will never
wall.
happen. It'll never happen, but
It'll never. This segment is known as "This will never happen at Splinterlands." Yeah, you guys probably know. You guys been around long enough. I'm an idea person. I love throwing ideas out. I feel like you need 10 bad ideas to get maybe one half good one and maybe a fraction of a really, really good one. So I love throwing tons of ideas about all the things. And I feel like what you have to do is throw all these ideas out, then just start chopping it down and see if it's still everybody likes it and doesn't tick somebody off. I think there's a lot of really cool things we can do with land with the card game that's not there yet. Battling, transporting, defending, using the battle system to actually affect some kind of turf war, like surfing. You could actually eventually make it a true battle where you could make people fight. And this is I say, we can't start there. Can't go build that whole system tomorrow. I want to figure out what's the fastest thing I can build. But would I love to see land surfing become, where you actually battle over it? You challenge the surfer to a battle and you given a rule set and you have 24 hours to submit your battle deck to defend your surfing territory, and you can defend surfing territory, or you can attack somebody else's surf territory and knock down their production. Yeah, that's cool. Let's do it. Let's have that. Or hey, you want to think about it. Okay, this is the way I think about it. Think about all the way all these other games do it, and then think about how you could take way Splinterlands is and put that in there. That's the way I think about it. I'm like, how can I be, the best games that I think of for this are your Ultima Online, your Star Wars Galaxies, your games that are huge where players are doing what they want to do in it, where for instance, you could be the guy that, you want to be a blacksmith, or you want to be the miner, or you want to be the defender, the knight, you want to be the rogue, that doesn't change. People still are wanting to do that no matter where they go. So why can't we come up with our equivalent here, right? Do you want to steal people's stuff? So here's just theory crafting, right? Instead of you have to send your grain or your resources to market. Well, what if it takes time to go to market? And what if on the map you could see grain moving from plot A to the keep? And what if you could attack it? And then what if you could defend it, right? And then if you won, you get some, you're able to plunder some of the resources. Why not? So that kind of stuff sounds really awesome. And what if you could suddenly make all the guild territory, you could integrate some kind of guild competition between people where they're this guild's territory, you get bonuses for being in the guild, you get bonuses for attacking another guild's territory and knocking their production down. And what if it was all about something simple, I'm going back to Civilization. You guys Civilization fans at all?
Yep, absolutely.
You're building the monument in Praetoria and everybody knows you're building it. And all of a sudden everybody's like, no shit, we got to build our own monument. It's kind of like the research, but imagine you're building a monument, you can attack it. You can try to knock down your other clan's monument. Whoever builds the monument, it's a permanent NFT that they own, they have on the property, and the people can fight over it. What if you could do stuff like that? Another great game that I think there's a lot of great ideas from is Eve Online. One of the longest running, super big, huge community involvement, so much subterfuge, right? So much like backstabbing and big battles and all this stuff. It's just, I mean, I've played it. I could never get into the level those people do, but it is kind of cool. Splinterlands could do something like that, have these big, if we could come up with like, hey, how do you do big battle? Like, okay, one of my biggest dreams for Splinterlands is co-op battles. Because I would love to pull up with, a friend or just someone from the community. Hey, let's throw some battles down. We'll do duos together. Like we both throw cards up. We try to work together to come up with a good deck to beat someone else, the other duo. What if we could do duos? What if we could do different types of these genres that people already like? What if you could do a roguelike? What if you could, like that kind of stuff? I think there's a lot of opportunities here. We have the cards. There's a lot of balance. I know there's a lot of challenges, balances. There's a lot of code, all these ideas, but there's a ton of ideas we could do, like very easily. I mean, you could do like a single player campaign where you traveled. Are you guys Puzzle Quest fans? I'm a huge Puzzle Quest fan. Like you could do an easy Puzzle Quest type of thing using your Splinterlands cards where you're traveling around a map. Every time you travel, there's a chance of hitting a monster. The monster, similar to your boss monsters, he attacks you with cards. You attack him. You got to win him, and out of 10 hands, you got to beat him 5 out of, got to beat 6 out of 10 hands to win. And then you maybe get some loot or something from him. Like you could do stuff like that with what we have. Like we got the engine, wouldn't be that hard. I'll tell you one of the ideas I had that's totally hilarious. It was more of a joke. Is I wanted to create a bot and create an account called the Goblin, and he's account on Splinterlands, and or the Treasure Golem actually, and basically he could challenge people in the game. So if you're logged into the game and you meet certain criteria, he could challenge you to a fight, and he would be tuned to fight whatever card levels you have. So he would be like, okay, I'm going to fight you. If you can beat him, you get some special loot or something. Just randomly, like you get this invite from the Treasure Golem for a battle. It's random. Not everybody gets it. It's special, but it can happen, right? It's just like, to me, one of the favorite things I have is like that Treasure Golem experience out of Diablo, where you see him and you're like, holy shit, there he goes. Got to track him down. Put all my stuff on him. I got to take him down. You have those moments of energy and excitement. That's part of Soul Keep, the tower defense game that's hopefully coming out soon, like that whole thing of risk reward that we were playing with it. So it's that whole idea of how do you create emotion? How do you create energy? How do you create interest in the players, in the game that they're playing? How do you have moments? If we can create a game that has moments, that's the thing that people talk about. And that's, I think, in a little way, love, if we could figure that out with land, where we can have some moments where you can have a moment with land where you're like, oh man, like I was surfing this one thing, or I was doing this one thing and I managed to do this. Anything we can do that takes it from being just an economy, DeFi kind of making tokens and generating stuff into like, oh, this is why I do it. I do it for that moment. Can I get that moment out of the game? And right now the moments is like tournaments. Did you win the tournament? Where did you place? Or seasonal, like where did you place in the season? Like, or that moment is, hey, I remember the moment where I crossed from silver into gold, right? Like what's the moment for you where I made it into champion? Like, those moments, people can still have them in the game. How do we create more of those moments? One of the other things I can throw out, like one, this is I might have talked this on the town hall, I think a while ago. Maybe you guys, I don't know if you remember this. I talked to you guys about what I wanted to do with the cards, about making them all have histories. Did I tell you about it? Do you guys hear about this? I'm sure somebody's talked about it.
I think there's been some talk. I think, is this what Aggie's talked about it maybe a little bit, with kind of like talking about how cards have won certain battles or in tournaments and being able to have sort of like trophies for that, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea was 2 years ago. I don't remember when this was, like early last year or before that. Matt was showing us some of his physical card collection, Magic the Gathering collection, and he was showing, like, it showed on the back of the card the tournaments that card had participated in, and it was a collector's item. And I was like, why can't Splinterlands do that? There's nothing stopping us other than code and money and all that, but we could do it. Like, imagine if every card, instead of it, so right now the uniqueness of a card, right, is actually unique to the level and the foil. right? So if it's 14 and foils this, that's the card, right? And I mean, obviously element and all the other pieces, but the card, what if you could make it more unique than that? What if this card, this NFT was the NFT that won the 2023 world championship, like that kind of thing, right? And you could say like someone could own that concept. That's NFTs. That's what we need to do, I think. And if I could do it, I would do it, because I think even just little things like that make it go away a long way for a collector. And then you need, okay, so number one, you do that. So you make it so that the cards, and the way I was thinking about this is each card would have a flip. So like you could flip the card and then it would have some like really interesting like stats, battle stats, like how many chickens it killed, like how many battles it's played, like, how many times it's lost. You could have its win loss ratio, but you could actually, it's for that individual NFT. You could actually say this NFT holds an undefeated like record, or it's like 99% wins all the llamas and crons, right? Of course, right? But what I'm saying is, what if you could do that? Because then all of a sudden you're creating a story, you're creating a moment where that card means something to somebody, and it means something because of what it did, and it's just something that happened. Like it's like this card was on this land, it worked land for this number of days, so basically like you're like, oh man, that's really interesting. Like this card has only ever worked land. It's never fought in a battle. Like you create these stories just by allowing some data to be attached to the cards. I think that's really cool. I think like being able to own cards that participated in tournaments is really cool. I think you could see that who's owned the card. Like you could actually see who the owners are. Like that kind of thing is really cool. I just think there's a lot of stuff with cards that we could do. And one of the other things I'd love to do with cards is right now we have the item collection, right? It's just a whole big pile of cards. You just look at your cards. What if, this is what if world, what if there was a screen that you could send anyone? You sent them a link and it's basically your collection, right? And like you open up the screen and instead of it being just like all these cards, it's like presented in like this graphic that shows like these are my top favorite cards. These are the cards that I battle with the most. Like a lot of games do this where you can send off like a calling card, like this is how cool I am and this is all the shit I have. Like that. Like what if we could do that as players and show off collections and be like, yeah, but then you need to have some way to show it off. Like, yeah, well maybe you have Prince, the Prince card, like, what I'm saying? Like you could show off those types of things. What's your favorite card? Well, my favorite card was, a Dejin card was one of my first legendaries. Like I would show that off and like you could put a little note about it. Like, well, this is my first legendary card. Tell that card's story. Right. So I think those kind of things bring the personality, bring the uniqueness, bring another interesting level to NFTs. So I know I could talk all night on this stuff. So you guys get me going. I can be here all night. But anyway, these are just some of the exciting things that I think longer term, if they keep going, I'd love to build. I'm just always having fun ideas with this. There's so many concepts from this genre of game, from both the fantasy genre, card collectible game, to have land, to have these battlers. Like there's just so many things we could do with this over time, as long as we have the support from the community. It's exciting and people are interested in showing up for it. I think there's just a lot we could do. So yeah.
Man, I love the historical aspect on individual assets. And Hep, but correct me if I'm wrong, I think we should be getting I think Investigator came on and talked about this being a piece of development that's going to be rolled into production before too long. I think at least a basic aspect of the history. But
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. And I love the idea
I think it might be part of it might be out now. I think they talked about it in I guess, what are we calling it? It's not town hall, the town
community
square
meetup thing. Yeah, there you go.
The Festivus airing of biweekly Festivus airing of grievances. It's I think they were talking about today that I think it might be out, or at least like the history of maybe who owned it or like what it was sold for, something like that. Some of that is happening, and they were talking about maybe trying to do some of these other things possibly in the future. So I think it was definitely on people's radar.
I'm really excited to hear that because, like I said, my head's in a hole, so when I don't hear everything, so It's just so much, right? I mean, I'm such an introvert. Like I said, I'm an introvert, which means that like too much information is not good. I just want to absorb everything right in front of me. So it's like I just land, I'm up to my eyeballs and land staking right now. So it's like my head is, okay, you guys want to hear what I'm actually working on? Like literally working on. Um, Literally, I was writing the code for the staking of cards and the filters so you can find which cards to stake. So I have to build the filters to make sure I exclude all the cards that you're renting and all this other stuff. And I have to write the code to bring back all that so you can pick like a Rooney. Do you have a Rooney? And does that Rooney qualify to be staked on land? So like that's where my head, all my brain is filled with how do I make these filters, sorts? How do I make this work for large asset holders so that it doesn't like crash their computer when they have 10,000 cards and they're trying to find one to stake on land. Like that's the kind of stuff that like where my head is like hardcore. That's why I say like, I do a little bit of the product stuff. There's some fun ideas. I have a lot of ideas, but wait, it's funny enough. I in a lot of ways, sometimes ideas are really cheap. It's actually execution's the hardest part. Getting it actually done, especially in a complicated world of IT is actually where a lot of the value is. And I like I know I just want to be there to deliver. That's what I like. That's one of my biggest things. I just want to get this shit delivered. So that's what I'm excited about.
Man, I quickly want to call out. We've had a handful of team members on over the last 6, 7, 8 months, and um, without a doubt, every single person that comes on representing Team Splinterlands, Team Steam Monsters, you guys have such a passion for your individual roles and what it is that you're bringing to the table for the team. And the first couple, you start to think, maybe like what's in the Kool-Aid? Like these guys are definitely sipping the Kool-Aid, but 100%. Like we've gone through Yaba, we've gone through Aggie, we've had Cryptomancer, we've had Nate, we had Royal Eagle. Shout out to the support guys, and now you Hardpoint. It's definitely pass around that Kool-Aid, man. You guys. It's amazing to sit back and be a part of this journey and watch a team of you guys are small and mighty. I think still under 50 in total employees and delivering such a cool product and constantly iterating for a bigger, much bigger picture. And I just want to quickly call out how much I appreciate the passion that you guys bring and it sounds like you are very much in the nitty gritty of working through how do I manage an account of 10,000 cards, 10,000 assets. Like that doesn't sound fun. I'm not a developer, but that does not.
It is fun for me. So like I actually enjoy it. Like this is actually the fun part for me. Not everybody would enjoy it, but I like the dev stuff. I like working on that. So this is where I'm in my happy place.
Hence my call out, Hardpoint. Yeah, so certainly appreciate the labor of love that you guys are providing to the game, and absolutely looking forward to see where this takes us. I want to shift gears for a minute with you, Hardpoint, and kind of look at the bigger picture of Steam Monsters, Arcade Colony, Chibi Dinos, Soulkeep, GLS, all of this stuff. I think we're fast approaching a world that sees Soulkeep in the Steam Monsters universe, GLS in that same universe, Arcade Colony is not too far off, it sounds like. But what of these things excites you the most about where the company is headed, and what is Splinterlands' kind of place in the Web3 universe?
Gosh, man, that's a big question. There's a lot of answers for that. I mean, I think the one thing that's really cool is that I'm going to make the most bland, generic, wide open answer to your wide open question. I think it's like I said this a while ago. It's like the company's a lot bigger than it was like 2 years ago. It still is, right? We still have a lot more people, even with the reductions that we had than we ever had before. So we're able to do a lot more. So I think that's really cool, honestly. And there's a lot of really creative, talented people. I had a hand in hiring a few of them and, very impressed with them and their quality of work and what they can deliver. So it was really exciting. I'm not in the weeds with most of those projects right now. Like, I used to know them at a high level, but I'm not in the weeds, so I don't know the much detail about them. I'm excited. I'm excited for anything this company can put out that's awesome and the community loves. So I'm just hoping that the community loves the labor of love that people put in it. I know there's a lot of hard work that's gone into a lot of those products, and a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of thought trying to make some cool stuff. So I'm excited like you are kind of too, where I'm just see what sticks. I mean, this is part of gaming, right? You put out a game, there's no guarantee people like it, but I know a lot of people put a lot of love into it, hoping people would. So where I'm at. Personally, like okay, that's my generic answer. Personally, what I'm excited about, Soulkeep was my like personal thing a year ago, to get it going. I worked on the original pitch. I worked on the design closely with David Fox for a couple months before I stepped down. And there's Soulkeep. The name is actually, I came up with it, I think, or at least it was a combination of myself and two or three other people came up with that name. There's a lot of things, even the logo. I remember picking out the styles of the logos with the artists. There's a lot of stuff like about Soulkeep that I'm a big tower defense fan. So, I own a bunch of the packs personally. I'm really excited about it. I haven't actually touched that product though since I stepped down. So that product has been run by a whole bunch of different people. I've been off doing other things, so it'll be interesting to see what it's like when it gets launched. Because I remember all the iterations in the months I worked going back and forth with game design docs, and all the ideas we had with the round robins with the studios and all that. So, I mean, personally, I'm excited to see Soulkeep go live. It'll be. I wish I could have been a part of the project the whole time. It just didn't work out that way, but it's kind of fun to see a game get launched that had a big hand in getting it started and pitching the idea. I hope it sticks. I think there's some really cool concepts inside of it as a gamer that I think are potential. So that's my biggest one. GLS, obviously, like I rode along for a lot of that to get that up off the ground and see a bunch of people working on it and what the team's been doing. So I'm really excited to see it turn into a real game. And personally, I wish it all the success, so I'm excited to play it eventually or try to. I'm not much of a sports person, so for this one's a little more distant for me. But I know there's some people like, what's his name? I'm trying to think of people's gamer tags, and I'm falling short on it. But the people working on that product, I know really care about it, and they really love it. So I'm really like excited to see their work go live and people be able to play their games. So there's just a lot of people that really care about what they're doing, and it's so exciting to see that stuff live. So I'm super excited for the company to launch something else, but I'm also super excited to see those people's work get used and get touched by the fans and by the community as a whole. And I hope it sticks. I think that's a lot of gamers. I think a lot of gaming studios, you'll find that a lot of the devs, like we work really hard on these things and you're just hoping people like it, and it'll stick. So I don't know. That's my personal opinion, but it'll be cool. Arcade Colony, that's been something that came after my time. So I can't speak much to it. I'm interested to see what it does, and I hope they do cool things with it. So, hey, I mean, anything I mean, I look at it like this. I'm big into the Splinterlands company. I want it to be successful, just like many of the fans that are heavily invested in us are. They care about what we do. They care about what we're going after. I'm excited just like they are to see all this stuff and be successful. So I'm hoping we'll see some of that success over the next year, especially, with the economy turning around a little bit, kind of shining a little light through the clouds. I'd love to see that happen for the company and see it grow and stuff, and pretty excited.
Yeah, we've heard the calls from the community. The salt is, kind of continues to be at an all-time high the last couple of months. We seem to turn it around right on the heels of launching Land, and card market started moving. DEC got close to peg, and it all came crashing right back down. And I feel like each time that happens, we continue to hear calls from the community to where is the attempts at acquiring new players? Why aren't we trying to bring in new folks to the ecosystem? And we asked Aggie about this a couple of weeks ago, and he mentioned the idea of instead of tossing out a single fishing rod with a lure and trying to bring a single customer in, we're going to bring in build an entire lake of a new ecosystem and have that serve as our kind of point of attraction for folks. And it seems like that's the same. It's a little bit of the field of dreams philosophy. If we build it, they will come, sort of thing. And it sounds like your vision for land is kind of along those same lines of land surfing. We've got to build a platform for folks to come in, and who knows, that very well could serve the purpose of attracting a whole new kind of demographic of gamer that has yet to find Splinterlands. Of it's essentially kind of a passive income, and not so much it's a DeFi platform, not so much of a gamer perspective, but yeah.
I would love to. I'd love to say I just want to build a game. Like I'm just not as much of that. I've said this probably a lot, but I'm not as much of that. I want to build people passive income. I want to build people a game they're having fun playing. If they happen to make some money, great. But if that's what we're really after, I don't know if I'm really the best at it, because I'm a gamer and I'm a terrible person at investing. So that's the worst combination. But like, I just want to build a fun game. Like, and that's land surfing to me. Like, yeah, like want more players, but I think if we build a fun game, that'll bring more people. Like, and if we build a game that we have a raging community that loves what we're doing and loves playing the game and they're having fun with it, I feel like we'll succeed, because people want to keep doing it and they'll bring their own people in. And I'm not going to say I have any magic bullets that are here. Even land surfing really is just to open it up to the existing player base. We have a lot of players that don't have land. That's simple as that. So why not? You have this whole audience captivated with cards. Why not give them something to do? Like, right? I mean, it's kind of like saying we need more people to engage, and they're all sitting right in front of you. And I'm like, well, why don't we just open the door for the people that are already here? So like, to me, that's where you win. If we can bring more, if we can make you guys, like, here's the thing, right? If we can make the existing people enjoy this more and spend more time here, we're doing something right. That brings more people. So like, for me, that's what it's about. Like, how do we take what we have, which we have a decent amount of something here, and make it more? Because that's where you just build off. It's a flywheel, like you just get more love going on. I think that's one of the things with trying all these little things with Splinterlands, like the no bot in modern, like that kind of stuff is an experiment to see, we have people here. What if is it more fun if you feel like you're playing against another player? Let's answer that question. Everybody voted. They say yes. Let's find out. Like, now we're going to find out. So it's like there's been raging debates in Mav chat forever about if we got rid of bots, it would be the solution to everything. Everyone debates. Now we don't have to have the debate. Let's see if it's successful. So like, this is the kind of stuff for me that it's all about. It's like, how do we use what's right in front of us and it's the old answers of this. Customer service 101. Treat your customer right, and they'll tell people about you. I think that's just build a good product for the people that are here. That's for me. Like, that's what it's about. And if I can make you guys happy, and if I can reduce some of the salt, I just don't think there's ever a way with crypto and gaming to ever have not salt. It is a salt mine. These are two industries that are literally built on mountains of salt. And so I don't think that'll ever go away. So if we that's our goal, I think it's the wrong goal. I think the goal is for the people that are here, that are playing the game and having fun. How do we make them have more fun? How do we help build that fun? And how do we add stuff on that adds net value to them? That's what I'm here for. I'm not here to make all the contractors, everyone that hates it, everyone that hates every little thing, all that. I don't want to deal with that. Like, that's their deal. They have their own beast. I'm here to, like, if you're here, you're playing this game, I want to see if I can make some stuff that you like and that you keep coming back for. That's why I'm here. And I'm one of those people. I love land. I've bought into land. I want to see if I can make land be something that I want to show up for and stay engaged with. That's what it's about.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think you've probably mentioned the community in the answer to almost every question we've asked you, maybe at least twice. Is it challenging to work on a game where the community is so involved and even has such a huge say through the DAO? I mean, you've worked at a lot of other companies where obviously you probably heard some stuff from customer service reps or feedback, but I mean, I'm assuming you could tell me if it was different, but it seems like this is way more intense. So is that a challenge for you and people on your team, where you're getting so much input, you're hearing so much feedback from the community on a daily hourly,
Well,
minute by minute basis.
it's funny because, back in the old days when I was on the town hall, I always used to give a shout out to support every town hall. Try to make sure support got the love, because they were on the front lines of receiving that feedback with two barrels to the face every day, right? And I want to say that, like, we have a great support team. Some of the most talented people in the company with this game are in support, and it's really amazing to have those people interacting with other fans and really doing that. So it's hard. Like, people, Aggie, always says, it's not that we don't mind hearing the messages, the way deliver it. Well, support is literally getting the delivery in every which way except for it nice. How often is it actually nice, right? So I think it is hard, and I think everybody cares, and especially when you're messing with real value, people tend to be very possessive of it. So that's hard. But it's sort of like, I think that's where I think the company is great, that it's not just one dude trying to do it, because the people that are really good at doing product are not always the great people at talking to everybody, right? So I think the company is really successful because we have a lot of different personalities here. We have a lot of people that are good at a lot of different things, and I think that's really helpful because you really need it with this size of community. So yeah, because I'm not in Mavs chat every day. There's other people that are better at that than me. I can show up every now and then, say I'm still alive, but it's just like, doing this stuff is not my A game. This is like someone else's game, so I'll let them do it. But do I think the community is important? Absolutely. Do I think their feedback is valuable? Absolutely. Do I think everybody gets the fact that we can't do everything that everybody wants to do? No. But the reality is the feedback's still important, because a lot of it we do listen, and it does affect how we build over time. So, people giving us good feedback, having the discussions with each other about it, as long as it's respectful. Like, we see those debates, and those debates are taken into account in a lot of discussions internally. Like, there's a lot of things that people pay attention to internally and respond to the way the community reacts to things. We're very, like, we do respond to a lot of things. It may not seem like it, because everybody usually thinks at the macro. They think like, oh, big picture. But actually, like, there's a lot of things that we are listening to the community about. We do change a lot of things based on the way the sentiment of the community is and about how it's affecting the community. So to me, I look at it and go, well, this company's actually very responsive. Now, everybody's like, well, when everything going to ship? And of course, that's hard. We can't ship these massive projects overnight. A lot of people don't understand development. A lot of people don't understand that these things take time and they cost money to build and all that. People just expect us to be this anonymous company that has our huge staff that just does things. And I think that's the thing we're not. We're a small company, and we're doing a lot with that resource. We got a lot of smart, talented people here right now. So see how it goes. But I think that's what's cool about it. You get much more of that, I'm in meetings with Aggie every so often, right? Like, how often at most companies do you get to have a meeting with the CEO or with Matt, like both of the founders? Like, me being able to talk to Matt on Friday for a few minutes, like stuff like that. Like, how often at big companies, big gaming studios, do you talk to the people that actually own the studio, that are making some of the bigger decisions? Not very often. I think that's really cool. And I think that feedback that comes in and the conversations from everything, we do care. We are listening. We have to filter. It's a lot of salt. And but it's we're trying. It's not that we're not. That's the interesting thing.
Yeah, to take it a step further of you guys are always listening. Well, to put your money where your mouth is, you guys put together the DAO proposal system. And now not only does the community have the avenue of Discord to convey messages of discontent, or I'd like to see the product move in this direction, or I feel like this mechanic is missing, or what the scope is massive, right? And we were having a conversation about it last week, Hardpoint, and I'm curious your thoughts, if you're willing. How much of a hindrance, if you will, is the current DAO proposal system? Have we overburdened the dev team with the number of proposals that we've been sending through as accepted and approved? Are we using the DAO to its kind of full potential? How do you kind of view the proposal system?
I think it's awesome from the well, this is heavily disclaimed, personal opinion incoming, so don't know if it's the right opinion. So just take it as my opinion. I think it's really awesome for the company to have an avenue where people can, put up stuff and communicate to us that it's worth enough for me to put some DEC behind this proposal. I want you to see it and people to vote on it. I think that's really cool. Even if we never executed on every single thing that was proposed, it's really cool to have your customers be able to talk to you and share with you something that's valuable to them. So for me, I think that's a win. And the fact that it's like, it's not the perfect system and it's kind of half built by Peak Monsters and us, and it's not like this sharp, polished, piece of software, but it works. And I think that's interesting because that kind of speaks to the company or the size of the company we are, is like we actually have something, you know, that you can go and talk to us. You have a way to put up proposals. You have a way for proposals to be voted on by the community and the people with SPS, and it works. It may not be the most polished. It may not be the most slick. It may not solve all the problems, but there is a way to have that communication cycle that's been really invaluable. And I remember before the proposal system, there was so many times where, Matt, like he wanted to do something or somebody wanted to do something with the DAO or somebody in the DAO wanted to do, everybody just had to talk in Discord about it, right? There was no way to do proposals. So like this is infinitely better than we were like a year plus ago. So like for me, it's a huge step forward for the company. And I feel like that's the problem with so many people that are like new to the game in the last year. Just you have to be a little bit of an OG and have a little bit of history with us to know like, holy cow, we didn't have any of this like 2 years ago. And here we are, we have stuff. So it's like there's a lot of stuff that's good, and everybody's like, well, how about the next stuff? And that's part of the problem, right? There's not a lot of appreciation for the amount that's been built. And I don't know. I that's the only thing maybe makes me a little sad, because people are always like, I need more all the time, faster, bigger, better. And there is some really nice people in our community that are very respectful and understand and can see and value what the team is doing. Then there's a lot of people that just really honestly, it's just like if it's not delivered yesterday and it's not bigger than they ever expected and the most amazing everything, then they're kind of like, this is the worst thing ever. And it's just really disappointing serving those kind of people, because they're impossible to make happy. And well, frankly, our relationship is never going to be great with them because we'll never be happy with what we do. The people that I really have a great time serving in the community are the people that actually take time to see the advances we're making, the steps we're making, and it was really special last year at Splinterfest, getting to meet a lot of those people and in person. That was really fun for me, especially after I had been there for a year and a half, working in the role I had. There was so much stuff, that went down last year. But honestly, that was one of my favorite moments, was just being in Las Vegas, shaking people's hands, saying thank you, saying like it's great to have you here. And that meant a lot to me personally. So like it means a lot as somebody that builds stuff. Being a dev and working in software is very personal. It's as personal as it gets. It's, you don't realize it, but a lot of us in this industry, we take what we do to be like paintings. Like it's that personal creation of yourself. Like you may not like the way it looks, but it took personal creativity and time for me to create it and come up with it and figure it out. It may not work the best, but it was a personal invested moment of my life to give you this. And like it means something to me. And to have people care about that, be excited about it, it means a lot to us. And so for me, that was a big moment. And just having that connection with the community where people value it. Those are actually the people that I listen to the most. Those people that are like that just like, hey, we appreciate you. We see what you guys are doing. Have you thought about this? Those people get a lot of airtime in my time. When I see those kind of comments and I see people just being respectful and just offering great suggestions of how we can enhance the game, I love that. And it's like, I love talking about this labor of love that we're all doing. You said this before, and the shout out to the team. And I'm so glad that that's the way the perception is of the team, is that there's a lot of, love here. There's a lot of passion here. And that's true. I feel it on this side. There's definitely a lot of it. So I just want to say like that mirrors the way I feel internally in the company. There's a lot of people here, a lot of people that love what they do. A lot of people are really excited about the products that we're building, the direction we're going, so just can really say that bottom of my heart.
Beautiful, man. So you kind of alluded to it earlier as land, Praetoria being Hardpoint's Mona Lisa. What is the looking back at I guess 21 months before you jumped onto Project Praetoria, what was your kind of crowning jewel achievement of code that you're most proud of?
Well, actually, before I became a dev, the thing that I was really cool, yeah, I'll tell you, this is the thing I was really proud of. Before everything kind of fell out of under our feet, really not for reasons of our own. It was really the market. We got the FTX thing that really just zapped a lot of stuff out of the market and really took the wind out of under our sails from where we were late last year. Actually I'd never built a team that big. I think we were getting close to 200 or something. It was huge. And like we had so many projects booted up and running, and I had been responsible for helping to build that and working along with hiring people to help build that. That was pretty freaking cool. So like that was like, yeah, this is cool. I can do it. I don't know if I want to keep doing it, but it is cool. So that was kind of fun. It was like not something a lot of people realize, but putting together a big team and having it all move in the same direction and not running itself over is a lot of work. So that was a lot. That was a big achievement for me. Actually, it was really funny is more specifically, and this is just it's different for everybody because I really didn't develop much. I literally came to the company, helped stabilize the platform so that it wasn't burning down every night, and then started doing CTO stuff. So it was really only 2 or 3 months where I was really hardcore in the code before I was hiring and managing and doing all that. But honestly, for me, I took a lot of satisfaction away from that. The roadmap that we started publishing, like that was one of my ideas. Getting that, we got an artist to kind of envision that and worked really closely with Shiklet and Self High Five, I think is handled.
Great handle, Self High Five.
Yeah, but I think it's that. But the artist that did it, we worked together over the summer to put that together, and it was one of the most exciting things for me was getting that roadmap out, because what it really showed for me was like every time we were able to mark something off that we shipped, it was a success. And like people kept, no one realized that as those cards on the left of the roadmap mounted up, there was so many people that were like, Splinterlands never ships anything. You guys are just, never building anything. You're always making all these promises. And I just was sitting back going, I don't know about you, but I'm looking over there and I'm seeing all this stuff hitting production. I'm seeing all these projects hitting, all these things went out. You just go back and look at some of those roadmaps from last year as we were knocking things down left and right, putting major projects out almost every month. There was like a time where every single week we had something going out for like 6 weeks. That kind of stuff was really cool for me because that was like, can you do it? Can you come in and help organize and get this thing moving and launch a bunch of software? That was pretty exciting. So that was really honestly pretty exciting for me. So land will be my next big thing that I'm excited about. Honestly, though, it's a team effort. Like I said, everything I've done here has been part of a team. So I'm just one of many cast of characters making all this stuff function. So I can't claim complete responsibility for anything here. There's definitely a lot of very smart, talented people that I'm just allowed to be working with. But I'm excited to be a part of land and to have a hand in that. And then I know when that goes live with 1.5, there's some big components that I've written personally. And I'm very excited for you guys to use them and to have them functioning out there and be like, yeah, like you don't know that, but deep underneath that button you press, I wrote a lot of that and I'm excited about that.
That's awesome. Do you think the reduction in the team has really delayed things, set you guys back? Have you think you guys have been able to find some efficiencies with having a smaller, more agile team?
I don't I kind of defer that back to the community to judge a little bit. I've been so focused on the down focus that I don't know, I'm not measuring all that. I'm just saying like I'm glad we're still shipping. I'm glad things are still happening. I'm glad there's still a horizon right now. So like, yeah, I'll defer that one out to other people. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We have less people, so how can you do the equivalent of less people? I don't know, but I think maybe. But I know we're more efficient. I know we spend a lot of time on efficiency and cost reductions, and we're way more efficient cost wise. Hats off to PJ and the team. I've had a little bit of a hand in some of that. I'm impressed with that. I'm impressed with the products we're still shipping given the reductions. Hats off to the reorganization, all that. So there's a lot of things that I think, yes, we're doing a lot with what we have, and we're doing probably better efficiently because we don't have a big breadth to use. So you can't we are more efficient because we had to actually stop and spend time on that. Whereas before we could just keep going. Like it was just that game where you're just a big ball that rolls around and collects everything. Like that's how it felt before FTX and all that stuff happened. Like, we were just going crazy shipping stuff. I mean, we didn't have to be efficient. Now we had to be lean and efficient because we went through a bear. So we became lean and efficient. So depends on what you're really how you're going to measure success. Is measuring success being super efficient, or is measuring your success do everything you can as fast as you can? It's software development triangle, project management 101. You can choose time, money, or resources. You have to pick one or two of them and give up one. So it's like whichever one on that triangle you want to go after, you optimize for it. But I don't know if that's a great answer, but it's like, does it? I don't know. I would ask you guys, how do you feel like it's gone since the layoffs? Do you feel like it's changed a lot?
I mean, we don't really. I don't know what is the amount of work that is going on in the back end, right? It feels like we focused more on bigger projects that were always going to take longer, and we're waiting for those to come out, which I personally think is okay. I was saying this a while ago. If for a while there, it seemed like the pace was so fast that it was hard for even as a player to keep up with everything that was going on. You almost had to be at all the town halls to even know what was going on with the game. You couldn't just play the game. You had to be at the town halls to know everything that was going on. It was all happening so fast. You had, nodes, tower defense, GLS coming out. Like for a while there, it was just like the pace seemed, unsustainable to me, regardless of market conditions. It was insane. So I've kind of enjoyed that it's, been a little bit slower, and let's, dive deeper into some bigger things and get some of these bigger projects taken care of moving forward.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that. I certainly feel like things have been streamlined. Looking from, I guess it was November layoff period, through to the most recent code stuff. We've had some huge shipments of code come into the system, and it's all in the name of Splinterlands. Yeah, there's been some tower defense discussion. There's been some GLS, some arcade colony, Chibi Dino stuff on Town Hall, but for the most part, it feels like we've as the Splinterlands ecosystem have kind of put on the blinders and our noses to the grindstone in terms of how do we get Splinterlands to be as finely tuned and well oiled of a machine as possible by year's end. That's an arbitrary kind of checkered flag there, but yeah. So it's certainly been fun to see. I've been part of. I watched from the inside as I had coworkers that were part of a layoff, and it's hard, but I felt a similar kind of shift in approach and perspective to my job and what my team's role in the organization was. And, efficiencies were certainly a positive side effect of said layoffs. So yeah, being an absolute outsider and just, purely a stakeholder in the Steam Monsters layoffs, it certainly feels like, efficiency and overall effectiveness has been a positive side effect of the layoffs.
That's cool. Well, like I said, it's all back to your guys' perspective on it. I think that was a great summary. Like we were going crazy. We had a lot of people. We could get a lot done. And once we reduced, we focused on making sure what we had, we could do as much as we could with it. I mean, just what you said. So, but it was fun. It was a wild ride. Let me tell you, it was a wild ride last year.
Shoot, man. I didn't realize that the team had grown to almost 200. That's massive. Yeah. That's huge.
It was awesome. It was awesome. But we got so much stuff. I mean, it's like you guys said, we were shipping all kinds of stuff really fast. And so it was cool. Like we got a lot done. And I think we're still getting some stuff done. Like you said, blinders on, getting That's the feel I get too, because I'm sitting in sort of the same seat you guys are. I don't see all the big picture stuff like as much anymore because I'm more heads down. So that's the feel I get is we're consistently still shipping, which is a positive. We're shipping some good projects, which is positive. We're shipping on our promises, which is a positive. Land has become a focus, which is really awesome. It's exciting to see these other products that we promised last year still headed out the door, even if they're not happening as fast as we wanted them to. So that's exciting.
I want to ask you a question as a developer. You've kind of worked in a handful of different companies and have have gathered some perspective as you've rolled your way along to your current position. And I've heard a few folks throughout the community kind of express the thought that Web3 doesn't attract necessarily the level of talent that Web 2 is capable of providing. And I'd love to, I feel like if I were in your shoes, I would take that opinion very personally, and it would probably piss me off. So I'm curious, what is your perspective on that? And I'd love to hear you kind of, you've defended the team that you worked with. I think just about any time that you've got some FaceTime, and you've done the same throughout this episode. So I'd love for you to kind of expand on, what is the comparison of talent between Web 2, Web 3, and
well, having sample size data of one company that I've worked at that is in this field, it's a tremendous amount of data I can draw on to share with you. I don't know. I think, you talk about there's different ways to dimension the answer to that. Like, are you talking salaries? Are you talking the quality of life, the type of work you're doing? Like, there's so many ways as a developer that you can dimension whether you choose to go a certain route or not. I think everyone's different. So is it money purely? Well, right now, while everything's kind of gone through this bear, of course not. If you go through when crypto's flying like crazy, we're up at 70K. I'm sure there's some really good salaries in Web3 that make people have that value only salaries go after. Right. So, like, to me, it's always been a mix of like everything that matters. So, like, this is a very personal, from everything I can tell, everybody's personal with their jobs. So for me, it's a personal thing. Like, I want the right mix of money, environment, time commitment, expectations, and creative projects I'm working on. And I think that's what I love about being specifically at Splinterlands right now is I like that it brings gaming and cryptocurrency. It's the real reason why I signed up is I wanted to do both of those, and it was like, hey, they're both in the same category. Instead of just working on some DeFi thing or working on just gaming, I can do a marriage of both, and that was what's exciting for me and what's kept me here working here. And the fact that the company had some really cool people to work with, I value that. In my stage of my career, I've been doing what I've been doing almost 30 years. So, like, working with cool people is important to me. So there was some cool people here. I like working with them. So, and it's fun. And we got to hire a whole bunch more. So, like, got to work with even more cool people. It just so much gravy there, So I would personally, kind of say I would love to see Splinterlands do well so we can keep doing more of what we're doing. I don't know. If I have to go back out the job market, ask me that after that. I'll tell you whether it's Web 2, Web 3. I mean, it's hard because I think it also depends. That question matters in what stage of your career you're at. Everybody's going to feel differently. If you're like the intern that's, working around the clock, it's a tough no matter where you go. If you're senior and you're looking for, you want to retire, it's a just have a cushy job. That's one way to go. You can go, I want to do startups, and it's maybe you become a billionaire, that type of thing. So it's just such a hard question to answer. To say blanketly that I would choose Web 2 or Web 3, I just wouldn't only answer that question. It would be one factor in many that would make a decision of whether I like them both or not. I mean, right now, if it's a bear market, I would say Web 2. If it's a bull market, I'd say Web 3. Isn't that the whole point of Web 3? That it's like, if it's going good, everything's good. So I don't know. I mean, that's like any startup, though. Like, any startup is going to be like that. If everything's going well for that startup, it's going to be a great place to work. Ping pong. Everybody's playing video games. Everybody has a cushy meal and all that. If the startup is struggling, then everybody's getting asked to work overtime. No one's getting extra pay. There's no benefits, whatever. I think it's honestly, that's the problem, is people just pick out one thing on jobs, and really it's a constellation of several. And it all comes down to situational. So I know I'm being very dodgy on it, but I'm really saying it to me, the simple answer is it depends.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's a good answer. I think that's something that's really important for in every field is to have that find that balance and find what makes you happy and what you're really interested in. And this seems like an awesome place for you because it seems like it's aligning a lot of your interests. Um, Speaking of interest, though, one thing that I know you don't listen to the town halls, town squares now as well. But the concept of vouchers came up in the town square today, and Weird Beard kind of threw you under the bus and said, I think that someone was talking about, well, do we need to cut back on vouchers? Do we need to get rid of them? Weird Beard called you out as someone who is very pro voucher and just thinks they're, great key to have to unlock cool stuff in the game. So yeah, I want to hear kind of your opinion on vouchers and what utility maybe we're looking at vouchers in the future if it relates to land or relates to other things.
Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of funny that I think that it's a simple. So I'll go back up. I think it's hilarious that I'm somehow the voucher guy now. um, just from a product perspective, I just think it's one of the tools in our ecosystem that we need to think about. And until someone says that it's not, we should be, right? So that's why I've been talking about them. A lot of people that haven't been around for a while don't understand vouchers. So if you look at vouchers are, your reward for staking. So, yes, you can get interest, you can get the interest on your stake, but vouchers are this kind of special reward program for being a part of it. I hold a lot of vouchers because I think it's cool and I want to use them for something, which would be awesome. But it's like that's what it is. So, if we always say we want people to stake, then and it's not just about getting more of the token, it's about what you get from staking. And then vouchers are the one product of staking, then you got to create value for vouchers, by adding more things to be aware from. So that's the simple math for me why I've pitched the idea. Like I love the combination of vouchers being used for discounts and extra, ways to get past certain things and to have certain things in the game used for vouchers. But I mean, like, I'm not designing everything. There's a lot of other people that make these decisions besides me. And I get to, I mean, like so many people in our company, like we get to share our own opinions about how things get done. Does that mean that we're the final say? No, I'm definitely like, by the way, that's the one thing you should definitely know on this call is I do not make these decisions. I just get to throw all my shit ideas out and maybe some of them stick. I don't know. That's about, just so everybody understands that. It's not like I'm out making decisions. I get a couple cool ideas in and sometimes they stick and they make it to production. There's a lot of us on the team like that we don't make the final calls on this stuff. But I mean, honestly, I don't know. I can tell you that I would love to see if it was back to our wouldn't it be nice world. Wouldn't it be nice? I would love to see vouchers have more utility. Yes, why not? That was like a year and a half ago when we introduced them for Chaos Legion, pre-sale. That was a great way to gate pre-sale, right? It really was amazing to give some value to staking where people were like, hey, you stake here, you get to get in front of the line, you get a month to buy stuff with vouchers and you get to do all the cool stuff. I think that's still cool. I think it's cool to be cool. I like exclusivity, but then it's like you open up to everybody and it doesn't mean you shut people out. You just use it as a time lock and that people really care about it. You let them, because here's the thing. I mean, I've funded a lot of games and it's cool when you can be on the VIP tour, like you want to be on the front fast pass, you want to do that, and you want to put a little more money in because you care about it. I like that. I like the way vouchers do that. Staking and vouchers, and I think we're moving more and more that way. That's what I want to see. So would I love to see it? Yeah. I mean, do I have the say on this stuff? No, but I do. I think it's cool. I mean, don't we all want people to stake stuff? I mean, isn't that we want people to tie down the token? We want the token to be there, but it's like I'm not here to shill tokens either. Like SPS is one of those things. I'm just a gamer and a developer. So I'm here to you give me a problem, you tell me, hey, we got an ecosystem that has SPS, it has DEC, it has vouchers, it has nodes, and it has land, it has cards. solve this problem. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to solve that problem. I need to find a way to get this value and this value. How do we add value here? How do we tie all these things together? How do we create a comprehensive product that is exciting to use and fun to use? That's why I keep bringing, when people ask me about vouchers, I'm like, hey, we should make vouchers be a part of this. It'd be cool. So, and there's a ton of really cool ideas. I think there's some really cool things coming where they're excited about, where they're going to incorporate vouchers, but we'll see. I don't know. But I'm excited about them. I think they have cool potential. But I'm definitely not going to say I'm trying to sell vouchers, not financial advice. I just think it's a cool concept. I think the concept's cool. You stake, you get something for staking, and then we can let you do cool things with it. I think, doesn't that sound fun?
Well, given that response, Hardpoint, it's easy to see why Weirdbeard pointed the finger at you as being the unofficial voucher man.
I mean, well, I guess.
I would love to see.
I guess it's like saying like I'm excited about Splinterlands ecosystem. Yes, because it's part of it. Why wouldn't I be? Like, you just won't find a lot of salt for me. I'm not a salty guy. I'm like a guy that loves being optimistic, looking for the best in things, finding cool ways to solve problems. I mean, that's really where my heart is with all this.
I can appreciate that. That's where solutions are born of. But yeah, so thinking about vouchers and kind of reflecting on some of the past proposals, past promo cards, Vruz is one where I would love to see the future iteration of some sort of SPS staker reward card, promo card come in the form of purely purchasable by vouchers. So something like that would be fantastic.
I think that's cool. I think the voucher store, I know that I want to say like the voucher store concept is kind of cool. I do think that would be fun to have something that's exclusive to vouchers. Do I see it happening? I don't know. We've been trying to incorporate vouchers into a lot of things, but so it's sort of like saying like if everything can use vouchers as discounts, is not everything part of the voucher store? Like, and do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's like how. When we really talked about voucher store last year, I think I can talk. We talked far enough away. I think I can talk about it. When we talked about voucher store last year, it kind of became clear as like, if we just make vouchers be discount or have some effect on everything that people buy, then technically the whole Splinterlands platform is a voucher store. Like, you don't need a special voucher store if it's a part of everything. So like that was what I thought was cool. And that's why like after that, I realized that I was like, well, then we don't need an exclusive voucher store as long as we give you a way to use the vouchers. And I don't know, I'm not a part of all the decisions and why all things are done a certain way. That's the tune that I've been trying to dance to for a while. So it's like, yeah, it makes sense. But I mean, would I love it if we had skins available for vouchers only that were like exclusive? Yes. Do I love this idea? Yes. I don't know. Will we do it? I don't know. But I think it's really cool. I love the idea of letting exclusive content be access to people that are coolest people, and people that stake SPS are cool. People that are playing our game are cool. So like, I just love showing more value to people that are involved.
Yeah, so real quickly, and something else I would love to see would be like a voucher only tournament system, like a tournament series that is purely for the SPS stakers, long-term SPS stakers, with like a voucher admission system.
Can a tournament be voucher only yet? Is that
I don't think so.
Possible? Dude, that would be a really cool idea. I should run that by Matt. You know what? I'm going to poke them about that. They should let vouchers be one of the payment methods when you set up a tournament. That'd be probably not hard to do. That'd be really interesting. I mean, we allow a lot of other tokens to be the payment method. Why not voucher? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I have to poke him about that one. That's actually really interesting because you could it's part of our configuration. Probably doesn't cost much to do. So I will make that suggestion.
Oh, there you go, Jangles.
Sweet.
Sign him up.
Oh, I guess now I'm officially the voucher guy if I do that.
Fully embraced, man. Fully embraced. Yeah. Last thing about the vouchers, I would love to see, maybe a voucher store become available through something like a battle pass, and where those skins become available for purchase exclusively via vouchers. And I think the exclusivity is something that, me as a gamer, I would respond to particularly well if I could have something, unique to me that, it is its own kind of tap on the shoulder, if you will. Like, hey, I've been at the game for 2 years. This is a reflection of that. It's exclusive, and the only way you can have it is by doing the same thing. See you again in 2 years.
I like it. Sounds really cool.
Awesome. Well, Hardpoint, we're coming up on 2 hours, man. I before we kind of wrap things up, I just want to again, extend my appreciation on behalf of the People's Guild and the community. It's good to hear that positive energy from Hardpoint. We appreciate the extended 2 hour proof of life. Hardpoint is alive and
A
well.
newspaper with
Still
today's
alive.
date.
Still alive.
Yeah, he's just got his head buried in the sand and his heart at work. We appreciate what you do and look forward to seeing the fruits of your labor here in the coming months and coming years, man.
Thank you so much. And guys, thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun. And I apologize to everybody that yells at me that's like, you need to come on town hall. Like, I think I would love to. I just don't have as much to say. So I feel like as an introverted guy, like you get on these calls, we can talk about some of the things that I'm good at, but like going on the town hall, I just don't always have a lot to say because I'm heads down in a very specific area. And I just feel like I'm so pragmatic when it comes to that kind of stuff where I'm like, well, if I don't have a lot to say, I don't want to get in front of people and feel like, hi, I'm working on stuff, like I'm just building land. And so that's probably more part of it too. Is just lately, this last year, I just don't have as much at least for me, I feel is fascinating to talk about to the community because I'm so heads down on this stuff. And there's a lot of other people that are much better at covering all that stuff for people. So yeah, but no, it's been great. Thank you guys so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
No, thanks. Yeah, thanks for coming on. I know there'll probably be people who are mad at us for having you on here for 2 hours instead of you being working on land. They're gonna blame us for
Well,
the
this is
delay.
late at night, so technically it doesn't count, right? Shh. This
Yeah,
is my
it's
own
getting
personal
right.
time. My fiance is the only one that's getting angry right now. So, and
Oh,
she's really cool with it. She's actually been listening in and laughing at me every now and then. So,
no. She mad that you're not you guys aren't playing video games together, playing some more Diablo together.
yeah, she'll loan me out. She'll loan me out to you guys. So you guys are cool.
Well, definitely thank her for us. What's next on your game list now that you've finished up Diablo?
Oh gosh. Well, actually, more Diablo. I need to. Okay,
Go
hold
back
on.
and play through.
Well, I only played through. We can do another episode right on just let's talk about Diablo. Um, but like I've only played through it as the sorcerer because I love sorcerers. So I played through a lot of druid. I really want to. There's like 5 classes. I really want to play through the game on each one of them. I think that the one thing I think they did well is that each of them feel a little bit different. And so like I really enjoy the gameplay. It's fun, it's enjoyable. I think the Blizzard team did a great job with it. So I'd love to play through it a couple more times before I move on to other games. But so yeah, the more Diablo in my life. We did play, me and my fiance, we played Overcooked. I don't know if you guys, I would give a shout out to that game.
Yeah.
That studio did such an amazing job for a great couch co-op game. We beat 1, 2, all the expansions together. It was a great bonding time. So I really love that game. So I just give a little shout out for Overcooked.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't played it, but I've heard from people. I've heard just great things about Overcooked. It's fun, and I haven't played
Definitely give it a
Diablo. I think
chance.
since Diablo 2. So you're kind of like now I'm starting to really. All right, I might need to pick up. I was gonna play was the Breath of the Wild 2, Tears of the
Ooh.
Kingdom,
Tears of the Kingdom.
next. But now I'm like
Yeah.
maybe I should step into Diablo real quick first.
Well,
so,
I will say like I had my brother played the last one, I think, the last Breath of Wild.
mhm.
Really liked it. I just got a PlayStation 5. I've been wanting it forever, finally got one. So, and that's where I've been playing Diablo on. It's just couch co-op. It's so great because they made it cross-play, so I can literally play with people. I was playing with my brother who has a PC version of it on my PlayStation in my
wow.
office. So it was like really fun to be able to go cross-platform. I think technology is really cool for that. But yeah, definitely if you enjoy the gameplay, it's Diablo. The story is kind of cool too. They did a great job with the cinematics, and it's surprisingly a good story. I really enjoyed the story. They keep you going. You're like, it kind of pulled me on at the end. You're like, okay, let's do it.
Nice.
Cool.
Are you a sci-fi fan at all? Because there's a Bethesda. What's that game? Starfield, I think it's called.
Oh
Is
my
that what it's
gosh, that
called?
looks
That's coming up.
amazing.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm
I
looking
haven't
forward to
got
that
it, but
too. Yeah.
I saw it and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Really excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see it when it comes out. Definitely excited for that one, Starfield.
I'm
I haven't.
definitely a
I've been
big
purposely
Elder
not
Scrolls
trying to
fan.
learn a
Yeah.
lot about it. So if I play it, it'll be kind of like a whole new like experience.
Yeah, I
But
played Elder
check out Star
Scrolls on
Citizen,
PC
by
and
the way.
stuff. So okay.
Check out Star Citizen. You guys haven't seen it, but check it out. It's very impressive what they're doing. So like, I put too much money into it.
Is the
Splinterlands
game
beat it
out
out.
yet? Is it out
What?
yet, or is it still in development?
No, hell no. We're still in alpha. Are you kidding? Yeah. By the way, that's the one thing that's funny. You guys think about everybody talks about it, but you look at that game. It's just amazing. $600 million crowdfunded. $600 million.
Wow.
It's
Hey,
insane, but it's
this
really
is
cool what they've built so far.
robertsspaceindustries.com. Is that's the right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're at the right
Wow.
place. Yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty cool. Like probably some good YouTube recaps of what it is and where it's come from, but uh, you know, just it's. I mean, I was a big sci-fi like Wing Commander. You guys, Wing Commander, Privateer. Like I was a huge '90s fan of those games. So when this came out, it was like all the feels for all that cool stuff. So Um, yeah, no, I don't know. It's what happens when you grow up playing games. All of a sudden you get old and you're like nostalgic for all this cool stuff you used to do.
Did you ever play the Star Wars like X-Wing game on the
Hell
old? Like it's
yeah.
like three.
That's awesome. X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. Oh my gosh, this is so
Yeah.
cool.
So
I love those
there's
games.
I don't know if you've seen that. Like there's the public whatever freeware like old DOS games that you can just play on the emulator. And I was like found that the other day and I was playing that old X-Wing game and I was like,
Oh,
this
that's
game was so
awesome.
much fun, but I also forget like how like every mission took like 25-30 minutes. It was like kind of slow. Everything was like so spread out in the map and it was like, oh man, games are not made like this anymore. But yeah, so it was
No,
definitely like a
no.
walk
I
down
mean, I
memory
played
lane.
the new fast-paced X-Wing and TIE Fighter squadrons, X-Wing Star
Okay.
Force Star squadrons. It's cool. The graphics are amazing, but I don't know. It just doesn't. I need a story. Here's the thing. I need a story. I need a reason to play. I keep gameplay by itself is not good enough for me. And I don't know if it's just I'm this type of gamer, but it's like I need a good story and a reason to do something. And that's what I love about Diablo. That's what I love about Star Citizen. And even Overcooked, it was great because they built a story and a campaign and kind of told you a little. It's just something to carry me on, give me a reason for why I'm doing it. So like that's why I like with Star Wars, the old stuff, they gave you stories and you're following along, you're doing all these missions, and that was Wing Commander. Wing Commander
Yeah.
1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, right? It was the story behind it that kept pulling you forward in every mission.
Yeah. Going into like the cantina area in Wing Commander and like talking
Yeah.
to the different people after the missions. And yeah,
Oh my
that was
gosh.
a cool part of it. Yeah.
You guys got to promise me, go to YouTube, watch Star Citizens. They have like 2 or 3 trailers where they're clips of the campaign and look at the gorgeous graphics from the game from the Star Citizen campaign. It is amazing. It's just so cool. So you got to check that out. There's like 2 or 3 that they do, and they're just high quality, like fully, rendered stuff, and it just blows anything away that we were playing like back in the 90s.
Awesome. I'll
$600
definitely check
million
it.
dollars. It damn sure
Yeah.
better.
Hey, $600
Yeah,
million. They
yeah.
probably still don't. They still don't even have a game yet, let alone land. So I think
That's
Splinterlands well
true.
ahead of everybody,
And they
right?
sold land. They sold
Oh,
land.
they did sell land too.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
I bought some. So it's. I mean, they sold. They sold. What was it called? I mean, everybody listening is like, we came on for Splinterlands, and now we're talking sci-fi Star Citizen. But they actually sold ships that are like colonizers, where you could build bases and
Oh,
stuff
okay. Wow.
on these planets. It's anyway. I feel bad talking about it, but it's really cool. Like the ideas are cool. I just hope they execute. That's what I say. It's even with a ton of money, it's hard to execute on this stuff.
Where do you own more land, in Splinterlands or in Starfield? Or not Starfield. What's it called? Star
Star
Citizen.
Star
Citizen.
Citizen.
Splinterlands by far, because I dumped
Okay.
my life savings into Splinterlands. Like before Splinterlands, okay, I put more money than I've ever spent in any game into Star Citizen, and it was over a course of like 4 years. I put like 15 grand into it. I know some people are like, "Oh, that's not much," but consider the times. Like there wasn't like these big, it wasn't crypto. It's completely just over the time, crowdfunding it slowly over 4 or 5 years of putting a couple thousand here or there with some ships that you're pledging, and you get nothing other than the privilege of having them in game. Right. So like that's a massive amount of money. And then Splinterlands came along and crypto, and all of a sudden my whole life savings went into Splinterlands and disappeared. So like
For now.
Splinterlands by far, like I've put so much more in here. It's because of, and this is what I was telling you. This is where we bring it back around. It's because I can sell these assets if I need them. And like, here's the thing, right? You know, a lot of the community knows this. I've mentioned this. Like I went through divorce and I've had to sell all my SPS. I literally bought 1 million of it, held it for a long time, and then sold it on a low. So great because of my divorce. But that's what's great about it. Like I was able to get a little residual value out of it that helped me through some financial times. So it was like, if I had put that in another game, I wouldn't have gotten anything out. So like, I think that's what's great about cryptocurrency, meeting gaming. I'm able to, as a gamer, put a lot in and I can still get something out. I think that's kind of cool.
Well, you certainly brought it full circle there. Hardpoint brought it all the way back from the beyond the atmospheres back down to Praetoria, man. Nicely done. All right, Hardpoint. Well, let's get you out of here on this, man. Is there any kind of parting words of wisdom from Hardpoint for the community? Any words of advice
or pleas of patience?
Yeah. Well, you know what I want to just say is thank you guys. That's the biggest thing. Thank you. You make it possible for me to do and work on something that is fun and work with some great people. And your guys is playing the game and investment in it or continued engagement with it has made it what it is today. And if it wasn't for that, I would not be able to do what I do. So thank you so much.
Wonderful. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you tuning in. As you can hear and see, Hardpoint is alive and well. Hopefully it's not another 9 months before we get a good update from one of our top developers over at Splinterlands. But yeah, thanks again for tuning in. And you guys have been listening to
The People's Guild.